Matchmaker Secrets, where we talk about love, dating, and relationships. And I'm your Asian matchmaker and soulmate expert. So today is quite special because seldom do we hear somebody who's going to be talking about sex. And actually, I do not know, how did you grow up? But in our household, we didn't even talk about sex. So my parents never told me anything. So everything was surprise. On my first year of, in the university, it was so interesting because I have this classmate and she just, nonstop, graphic description. I was thinking oh, wow. Is that really what's happening? And she was so proud. She has 12, I think 12 boyfriends. As far as I remember, I was thinking really? How can you have so much boyfriend? All right, so we're up for some juicy conversations. So our guest is Savannah Van Biesen, is an ASEX certified sex therapist, complementary to having her LPCS specializing in marriage, couples, and family therapy. As a published author, seasoned private practice owner, and advocate in gender, sexuality, and relationship diversity community, she hopes to help us embrace sexuality as a lifelong quality, unique to each human's needs and wants. So hello!
Hi! Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I am so excited.
Yeah, me too.
Always.
I think you're the first person I've had who is a sex therapist, solidly sex therapist. Because I've invited some people, but they just giving some hints, and then it's
Okay.
not a complete thing.
It's not as scary as it sounds.
I know, right? So earlier I was backstage with you, and I was asking how was it for you when you just completed your course in sex therapy? And so were there a lot of people who was giving you a hint okay, I want to meet you and probably be your boyfriend? But how does it work for you? Was it something that people thought it's just a pickup line that you were saying, or what?
Well, I love that. Might be a little opposite. I think if I tell people what I do, I think they're going to come up with the pickup line. Honestly, when I first was in private practice, I focused on sex and relationship therapy without being ASEX certified. And so a lot of it was couples work and anxiety with men and, different things that had to do more with same sex or opposite relationship, things like that, right? When I finished, and I call it sex school, really it's Sexual Health Alliance, and so it's an actual program that you go and get a sex therapy degree and whatnot. So when I finished it, it was really exciting because I would tell people, they would say, oh, what do you do? Or they ask, and I'm like, oh, I'm a sex therapist. And you get kind of one of two responses. They're either really excited to know you, and this is the Uber driver or the very gorgeous human who is serving you a cocktail. And so you want to tell them lots of things, but also hold back because I want them to like me. Mm-hmm. But the other side to it is they're a little bit afraid. It's incredibly taboo. It's not a topic that our society, and I understand maybe many culture societies, allow to speak openly and positively about. No, it's not really a good pickup line for me. Not yet.
Okay, all right.
But maybe you can help me with that.
Okay. So you were saying earlier that, sex can feel like a private or taboo. So how would you help someone navigate sexual communication with a potential or current partner?
Now, when I think about current and potential partners, right, the very beginning is, I think, when it counts the most. It's not so much that we're talking about traditional ideas around sex and sexuality. I think it's the idea that sexuality is everything. How do I express myself? What is my stress relief? What does connection mean? What do the roles and power play look like within different partnerships? What is it that I want from somebody? So I look at intentions, and I often like to break the idea of sex up into pleasure and play. So let's say you're about to go on maybe a first date or even a second, or you're on that actual date. I think it all starts with negotiating from the beginning. This is the role I want, right? Who picks out where we go? Do we both offer to pay equally? Because again, you're looking at gender roles. You're looking at the rules. What are we allowed to talk about? Just because you're on an app that might be more geared towards a intimate sexual experience, it doesn't mean that you have to take away from the romantic connection or the communication. I mean, even in a world where it looks very different from just your traditional dating, right? When I say traditional dating, like you go and you meet someone, you get on an app, you go on an online site, but what happens when you come and you're like, please help me look at my traits and my talents and find me somebody that would be my good fit? That is when you start to talk about it. You talk about what you like and dislike. You talk about what you're comfortable with. You talk about consent. I'm not saying go share every partner you've ever had. I mean, nobody's saying that. But I think that sexuality needs to be a broader topic that we're not afraid of. I mean, right down to, do you want to wear heels or should I?
Okay, that's hilarious. So how can people feel comfortable being transparent about the topic of sex?
So transparency is everything. From the beginning, I think it creates an opportunity for building trust and respect. And so if I'm speaking with a potential partner, I find them attractive, we've maybe sat next to each other, like at the same restaurant or something, we engage in conversation. I already know in my mind where I may or may not want the next step to go. And so I have in my own head what my values are, my rules, my roles, but I'm also very open-minded to hearing them. I think a lot of the times we leave it up to assumptions, and then we're all uncomfortable. So on the first date, if it's wonderful, and maybe we do a caveat experience after cocktails, did we negotiate it out? Did we consent? Do you know what I like? Do I know what you like? And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, let's get naked and do things. I think it can be so much about hearing a person and understanding what it feels like for them to be desired and wanted and respected. And I'm not trying to make this so boring, but realistically, if you're going to be transparent, why not let somebody know what matters most to you? Because really, if you look at sex, priming is a huge part of it. And when I look at priming, I think about everything that happens prior to your foreplay and your partner inclusion and your aftercare. It's everything that says, I've been with you for 30 minutes or 30 years. And either way, we still need to be able to talk about what's going to make me feel close to you and safe with you and trust you.
Okay, so like, you go like a certain process, you said. Like, so is it, regular for people to actually like, have a conversation after like, having sex, or like some people just ignore that portion?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you said that. Okay, I'm leaning in. So I am so on board for people learning to abide by some simple rules. So in the world of kink, and just mind you, I specialize in all kinds of sexuality. When dating, though, it's so important to have aftercare, if you will, inclusive of any sexual experience. That's when you learn about what your partner needs to feel nurtured, nourished, safe, taken care of, heard and seen, rewarded, if you want to go there. And so, jokingly, in the world of kink, everything is about negotiation, consent, aftercare. And I think in your more traditional and non-traditional relationships that are not kinky oriented, I think we leave that part out because nobody tells us about it. Mm-hmm. And aftercare is so many things. It's anything from, may we cuddle? Can we talk about this experience? Can you get me some water? Can you get the hell off of me so I can go take a shower? I mean, it's anything and everything, and knowing what do you need from me right now to feel close and taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I think that's very nice that, if people can learn and then like, they can do that. If they don't know, like, okay, surprise, like people will probably like, even the women probably will say like, oh my God, what happened? Like, we didn't even had, further, it's just like a one-time thing. It's like a booty call.
or bang and bounce. I don't know if we're allowed to say that here, but you're right, a one-time thing. But even then, every experience has meaning and it's character building. So they all count. I always say every relationship has a purpose. It could be 30 seconds long or 30 minutes long, or again, like the rest of your life.
Yeah. Okay. So like, obviously, like, there has been this issue about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. So, they were saying that Johnny Depp can be rough. Like, he could actually, like, rip her underwear off. And so, and then I was just wondering, do you think it's just like the normal thing that they do in this? It was just like, because we don't really know what happened, in the bedroom. But I'm just wondering, do you think like it's actually like something that have happened that, that's just their normal pattern, and then like, it was just used in order to make things like, big?
It's important to consider a few things, whether you're a celebrity or just, me. Normal is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. And so it's also important to consider this, right? I'm going to kind of go back to that idea of the world of the rules make a lot of sense in all relationships and sexuality. If spicy or vanilla sexual experiences are going to vary, what does that mean to you? I'll have some people say, well, we're very vanilla. And then they tell me about experiences that I'm thinking, oh no, I don't even know that I would be willing to do that. And so if somebody like the experiences of celebrities that is put all over the news, say he ripped my panties off and whatnot, honestly, I don't think there's no good, bad, right, or wrong, but was there consent? Mm-hmm. Did we talk about what that was gonna look like? Did I like that? Is it fun? Does it make it better? Does it make it saucier? And at the same time, even if I like it today, it doesn't mean I have to like it tomorrow. It's true. So important to check in and really define the normal day to day or week to week, depending on that couple dynamic.
Yeah, that makes sense because like, it also depends on their mood. Like, maybe they like it before and then now, no, because I have a headache or something, or like, I can only do so much today, Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I think like you have to actually agree, like, okay, is it okay, to ask, like, ask them, like, is it okay to have this now?
I think that that's the trickiest part of being transparent in a new or existing relationship, knowing when to ask, how to ask, and what. Only because if you're in a new relationship, is it still safe and comfortable to say, I really like it when you nibble on my earlobes. I don't really like it if you touch my toes. I know it sounds simple, but it could mean a big thing. And then in seasoned relationships, is it okay to ask for something new? You know me as a very masculine personality. I would really like to try on maybe one of your pairs of panties. How do you feel about that? And I think it's all about whether it's new or old, traditional or non. It's about feeling comfortable and safe to talk to your partner, whether it's, again, day to day, experience to experience. It's not so much about time, but it's about, like you said, maybe earlier this was spicy and we were texting and getting ready, and then I have a migraine come on at 7 p.m. And so I think it's really about maintaining that safety and that privilege among like sexual communication, not just regular communication with that day to day.
Yeah, I like that idea that you're saying it has to be safe because like, I think everybody just wants to be feeling safe. They want to make sure that, they're not being abused or like, they're in their boundaries.
We all want to feel safe and heard. I mean, it's really like a bottom line. I just want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to feel safe. I want to trust you. I want to respect you, and the same. And really, it sounds kind of easy and simple, but I think because we are taught not to be open and not to be forward, sometimes it has a lot to do with even gender roles. From the moment you are in your mama's tummy and they find out what you are, I feel like a stigma within society and culture is put on you. And so traditionally, if you're male, you cannot be weak and you have to be strong. And if you're female, you cannot be anything but maybe serving and polite and sweet. And so if you go outside of those boundaries in a relationship and you haven't been taught otherwise, how do you know that it's okay to tell somebody what you like or dislike and what you want and need? Expectations is not a dirty word. In fact, it makes life so much easier because then it's not a guessing game and we're not mind reading. We simply say, I really like this and I love you and I think you're attractive and I have gratitude toward you.
Yeah, and I think also it's good to know what can the other person actually do that he would do, because like, some people like say, no, I'm not gonna do that. So better be clear.
Yes. Yes, there are toys in the world and we need to have limits and boundaries and openly talk about that.
Okay, so how would you talk to men and women about the role and responsibility for having a happy sexual relationship?
I love the words that you used. So if I may, I would say a big difference between my practice when I was a marriage and family therapist to my practice as a sex therapist have to do a little bit with philosophy and a lot with approach and language. So I avoid the words happy, and I talk a lot about the words fulfillment. And I love that you said the gender specifics of roles. I think that we assume that as a society in many cultures. And so men and women play different roles in relationships, but you can look at, same-sex relationships, transgendered folk. Relationships look like a lot of things, and they all serve a different purpose. So sexual, romantic, whatnot, I think it's important to talk about the roles that that relationship provides to you and what they seek of you. So you can be in a relationship, for example, that you are very traditional in, where you are married. I'll give you, an easy example. Let's say my primary partner and I, Christopher, who is my husband, our roles are somewhat traditional and very, normalized, if you will. He takes out the trash. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I cook. I order in a lot, though. And when we talk about roles sexually speaking, like in the bedroom, I think that a lot of it has to do with communicating fulfillment. What are your needs and wants today? So going outside of that, not during the experience, not while you're in the bedroom. And honestly, why are we having sex only in the bedroom? Just wanted to throw that out there. But having the ability to tell your partner, you know what, Chris, I would really like this from you today. It would make me feel great to get a nice neck massage and get my scalp massaged. That's what I want from you. That would be pleasurable to me. Or playtime. I think it'd be fun if you would flirt with me while I chop up zucchini when we cook dinner. And so when looking at the gender roles and what makes us happy, I think it's more about what pleasure looks like, rather than I'm a boy and you're a girl, or I'm a transgendered female and you're a transgendered male, and this is what it's supposed to look like. Why not figure out what we're good at? What are our strengths?
Yeah. So obviously, one of the reasons why people divorce is because, of course, of they didn't have the sex that they have wanted. But anyway, what do you actually do for those people who are in the middle of we're gonna end up in the divorce, and so and then the guy's complaining, I never had so much sex that I want. So how can they actually meet halfway or something?
Okay, I love it again. Halfway would be compromise. I don't believe in compromise because nobody gets what they want.
Okay.
But negotiation, it's everything. So it's really common that couples will come and see me and say, I don't have a libido that my partner has. My partner wants more sex than I do. A lot of the times, people will feel like something is wrong with them. And you have to break it down. Physical, mental, emotional, sexual, and spiritual. Not necessarily religious, but energy. And so I ask them, tell me what you think the deficit is. Where is the gap in your sexual communication? So somebody who might say, I am a wife, I'm in my 40s, I just don't really want sex anymore, and I'm worried about my husband and I getting a divorce because he wants more sex than I do, and I don't know how to please him, and I don't know how to make him happy. And so I'll break it down and say, tell me a little bit about what sex means to you. And oftentimes the communication deficit or the gap has to do with how much attention are you giving me, quality time, what does love look like, what does pleasure look like? You know, for a long time, perhaps it was, well, we have 3 children together now, and one is going off to college, and we've co-parented. I think for some, especially like dating, they're like, oh my God, I met this really, really hot lady. I really want to hang out with her more. We've had sex a couple of times. I have no idea how to make this work. And it has to do with mental, right? Performance anxiety is so common. It's the idea of, I need to look like what Hollywood tells me, rather than I need to know what my partner wants me to look like. And so I think it's about really understanding, just like ultimately, what does desire mean to us? And what does sexuality look like for each of us as far as pleasure is concerned, rather than libido and judgment and performance anxiety and anger and feeling rejected.
Yeah, so more or less probably it's the same thing when you think about those people who cannot perform because they have diabetes or something.
When you bring up health issues, that's something that's important to me, right? And I'm not sure how technical I can be here with you, but oftentimes, I'll give you an example. Let's say I have a human, and I'm very body inclusive when I talk about pleasure. So let's say I've got a human, and body inclusivity means they might not be tiny or small. I'll often ask, what does self-pleasure look like? And how can we include a partner on that? Can we talk about how to maintain your blood pressure? Can we talk about your blood sugar? What did you do today to hydrate yourself? For physical health, right? I think ultimately, though, everything is connected to, rather than ending the relationship and acting out of fear, because that holds us back. I don't know that divorce is the answer, when realistically, if you could just identify the pieces that we have a gap in, there are oftentimes a lot of strengths and love and commitment and loyalty that you can play on, so that you can begin to add up and close in on that gap.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, everything is about, talking it out. Because like if you don't open your mouth, nobody's knowing that you're, actually feeling like, okay, I've done enough, or like I wasn't able to give enough or something. I have no idea. So
I will say my Uber driver, who I love, by the way, now, here in Chicago that I met, he would be very disappointed, though, if I said, it's all about communication. There is a lot to it. You have to understand your partner's body, and you have to understand intuitively what you like, the smells and the pheromones and the connection between the two. There is chemistry involved.
yeah, and so I know that most of your clients probably are in their certain age, like, if they're going to be divorcing. How about like, do you think, because this is not taught in school, so do you think the children now, because they have all access to this internet, I'm sure they know much more than you don't know that they know. So do you think they're already ready in school to talk about and have some classes on this thing? Because like they don't teach it in school right now. So I'm just curious if because they don't talk to anybody. They just know about it in the internet, but they don't probably talk about it to, among their peers. So is it okay to talk? You think like it's okay to teach, to talk it out with their teacher or something?
Thank you for asking me. I think, so I'm a mother of 4, and I have 2 middle schoolers and 2 younger. And I would say my biggest purpose, other than the people I can help, would be to change the next generation. Can you imagine what it would look like for sexual communication to not be taboo? Or can you imagine what it would look like to not have this coming out process, but it's more of a process that we all go through? We all get pimples, we all get shy, we all are awkward in middle school, and it doesn't have to be about what healthy is and normal, or the internet says, or school says. It doesn't have to be about religion or abstinence. It can be about acceptance and hearing one another. And I think that the start of it is how to become a more sex positive family and how to be a more sex positive adult. So earlier when you mentioned, there might be like a certain age of people going through divorce, a lot of the people I see are on average between 25 and 65. And I know that's like a 40-year gap of average, but these are humans that are looking for sexual exploration and acceptance, but they're also going through the same processes regardless of age. And so when you look at younger folks, what they teach in school is, I think, based on culture and societal norms, regardless of the country. But I think in the home, the family can make all of the difference. And so really, if you can talk to your 25 to 45, 65 and up, and teach the adults who are experiencing different, sexual problems and challenges, if you can teach them to communicate with their kids and grandkids, I think really that's where that shift is gonna happen, regardless of what the schools are willing to teach. So we're a sex positive family. My poor children, I love them. I think I know for one, she's very proud of me because she's like, well, my mama, she says. And so I think that the new norm is honestly a lot of the non-binary, non-traditional, queer, transgendered, kind of anything, but are you hetero, normative, straight, this? I think that it's already taken a change and a shift. So a lot of parents will say, hey, I'm going through this, but my kid's going through this too. And I'll say, it's kind of great, isn't it? How can you be supportive to them? How can you hear them?
Yeah, I love it. All right. So when should sex be brought up in a new relationship, and how soon is it too soon to engage in sex?
Okay. Now, let's bring it up. And I say that, kind of tongue in cheek. There's no good, bad, right, or wrong. I think that whoever you begin to match up with, you're not going to match up with them without having some similar values and relating some way or another in culture. So if two more introverted, less sexually aware, less sexually explorative people come together, they might not bring it up at the first date because their focus and intentions are on what do you like, what are your hobbies, etc. And so I think that you should bring it up as far as like sexuality goes in the beginning, based on what are the roles that make us feel healthy, not happy, but healthy. What makes me fulfilled? I want you to pick the restaurant and we'll split the bill. Or I want to wear a gorgeous dress and show a little cleavage, and I want you to love that about me, right? And so I think every match is going to have a little bit different of an answer, but all of it is going to be normal based on that unique dynamic.
Yeah. And so I know that Texas has also a lot of multicultural. So have you seen any, big difference as far as the American way of doing things as far as sex is concerned as compared to, let's say, what are the other nationalities in your area? And
okay. So I live within the Austin area, and there's diversity there. San Antonio, there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
And so I work a lot with the Muslim culture and Pakistani culture of men. And then I work a lot with the cultures of just kind of the Islamic backgrounds.
Yeah.
Hispanic culture is how I grew up. Hispanic, Latino, depending on the area of the U.S. that you're in, they kind of all go by a different nationality.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of similarities, honestly, among what we teach gender roles and what our expectations of sexual roles look like, especially when we're first dating. Courting, for example. Do we open the door? Do we pay for things, right? It's about what we talk about. What do I wear? What's appropriate? Am I sweet? Am I kind? Is it okay if I'm assertive as a female? And so culturally, I think it has a lot more to do with learning and hearing that person, that partner, even if it's only 30 minutes long, what is their family of origin? And so really I give it a 90-second to 5-minute, 3 questions. Let's learn about it now. And every culture seems to be somewhat similar. Tell me a little bit about what brings you to the city. And so that tells you a lot. Do they have a job? So if they moved here for work, they do. And if you want them to have a job, that might be good. And if you don't care, okay. If they grew up there the whole life, tell me about the family. Is your family here? What are they like? And so open-ended questions can take you really far. And this seems to be a healthy match for all the cultures I work with because everybody has that in common. We all have the idea of identity. We all have a family of origin that we come from. And we all have some interests, hobbies, and conflicts that we want to hide. And so these open-ended questions in that first 5 minutes, first date, 50th, whatever it might be, allows you to really understand where that person's coming from so that you can kind of take in some inventory and make educated choices about how many more minutes you really want to provide to them.
Yeah. All right. So, I wish that we have more time, but anyway, like this has been juicy. And for those people who are watching, if you are single and navigating love, we want to find out how you're doing it. And we're also looking for experts on love, dating, and relationships. So give me a holler, and I'll be happy to have you over here. So goodbye, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.